I was not supposed to be home that weekend. The plan was to stay on campus, catch up on sleep, and maybe binge some trash TV. But then my roommate told me his long-distance girlfriend was coming to visit, complete with a wink and a, "You might want to disappear for 48 hours. I got the message, loud and clear. So I packed a bag, texted my best friend Mason, and asked if I could crash at his place. "Duh, always," he replied. Mason and I had been best friends since high school. We'd done everything together: senior prom, getting tattoos on a whim, mine hidden, his not, and drunkenly sobbing over breakups at 2 a.m. He was the kind of friend who felt like home, familiar, safe. But there was one complication: his little brother, Jordan, and little wasn't the right word anymore. The last time I saw Jordan was almost 2 years ago, right before he left for boot camp. Back then, he was still kinda lanky, a little awkward, always hiding behind Mason. But when he opened the door Friday night, shirtless, dripping from the shower, towel slung low on his hips, I nearly forgot how to speak. "Hey," he said casually, brushing a hand through wet, messy hair. "Didn't know you were coming." I blinked. Yeah, last minute. Roommate's got a situation." Jordan's mouth curled into a small smirk. "Right, Mason said you'd be here." I didn't know what to say. He'd filled out. Broad shoulders, thick thighs, arms covered in a faint dusting of freckles from the sun, and tattoos. New ones, a black band around his forearm. Script inked across his ribs, things that made me curious in ways I didn't want to admit. Mason walked in then, saving me from further staring. "Yo, you made it. Pizza's in the oven. Beer in the fridge. Jordan's home for the week too, if you didn't figure that out already." Jordan tossed me one last glance before disappearing down the hall. That night, the three of us ended up on the couch watching stupid movies and eating greasy food. Mason dozed off halfway through some horror remake, head slumped back, mouth open. I figured I'd sneak off to the guest room, but Jordan was still awake, flipping through channels like he couldn't sleep either. "Want another beer?" he asked, already heading to the kitchen. I nodded. "Yeah, sure." He handed me one, then sat across from me, legs spread casually wide, like he didn't even notice how relaxed he looked. Or maybe he did. "So," he said, eyes on the TV. "Still single?" I choked slightly on my beer. "Wow. Straight for the kill, huh?" He shrugged, but his smile tugged at his lips. "Just asking." "Yeah, still single," I replied, trying to sound casual. "You," Jordan gave me a long look, "never really did the relationship thing." I didn't know what to say to that, so I didn't. We sipped our drinks in silence for a while. Eventually, Mason stirred and stumbled off to bed. I stood up too, about to do the same, when Jordan asked, "You cold?" I turned. "What?" He gestured toward me. "You were rubbing your arms. Might just be tired, though." I hadn't even realized I was. A little of both, I guess. He hesitated. Then, "Guest room gets drafty. You can crash in mine if you want. I'll take the couch." I blinked. "It's fine." "Really?" Jordan stood up. "I mean it. You're the guest." I gave in, mostly because arguing with a guy who could probably deadlift a small car didn't seem productive. His room was tidy, sparsely decorated, a desk, a few books, a laptop still glowing from whatever he'd been watching before. He handed me a pillow and an extra blanket. "Thanks," I said, trying to keep my voice even. "I owe you one." Jordan just nodded and walked out, pulling the door shut behind him. I climbed into bed, still warm from his body, still faintly smelling like soap and shampoo. And for a moment, I thought maybe I wouldn't be able to sleep. But I did. And then I woke up, an hour later, maybe more, to the sound of the door creaking open. I didn't move, just listened. The soft shuffle of feet, a dip in the mattress behind me. My heart thudded in my chest. It was Jordan. He didn't say anything, just slipped under the blanket, the bed dipping further as he settled. His body was warm against mine. Close, too close. Couch sucks, he mumbled. I didn't respond. He didn't move away, and neither did I. I didn't move. I didn't breathe. I just laid there, heart hammering, staring at the ceiling while Jordan's body pressed softly into mine. The room was quiet, except for our breathing. Mine, shallow and rapid. His, steady, calm. I figured you were asleep, he said finally, his voice low, barely above a whisper. I cleared my throat. Not anymore. He let out a quiet chuckle, and I felt it against my back. Yeah, I figured. I should have said something. I asked him why he was here, why he crawled into his own bed when I was already in it. But I didn't, because the truth was, I didn't want him to leave. It's weird, he murmured after a while, being back here. How so? He hesitated. I don't know. It's like everything looks the same, but nothing feels the same. Mason still keeps his room like he's 18. Mom still calls every Sunday like I'm 12, but I'm not. His voice had a tired weight to it, like he wasn't just talking about furniture and phone calls. I turned a little, just enough to glance over my shoulder. His eyes were already on me. You've changed a lot, I said. In a good way. Jordan didn't answer right away. So have you. The room felt warmer than it had before. Or maybe it was the fact that our knees were touching under the blanket. Or the way his breath skimmed my shoulder every time he exhaled. Sorry for just showing up in here, he said. Didn't mean to freak you out. You didn't, I said too quickly. Then, trying to sound casual, I've had worse roommates. That got a soft laugh out of him. I bet. We lapsed into silence again. My head was spinning. I kept waiting for him to move away, to say goodnight and roll over and pretend this never happened. But he didn't. And then his hand, slow and unsure, rested lightly on my waist. My skin tingled under the touch, and every thought in my brain shut off except one. This is happening. This is real. You ever think about, he started, but trailed off. About what? Jordan's fingers flexed gently where they touched me. About guys. The question floated in the dark, heavier than anything we'd said so far. I swallowed. Yeah. He nodded slowly, like, that wasn't surprising, like he already knew. What about you? I asked. Jordan shifted behind me, just slightly closer. Not really. I mean, not before. Before what? He didn't answer. Not right away. Then, before I saw you again. A beat passed. Then, another. My breath caught. I didn't know what to say. My heart was slamming so hard I was sure he could feel it through the mattress. I don't know what I'm doing, Jordan admitted. I wanted to be close to you tonight, that's all. The softness in his voice undid something in me. I turned to face him fully now, my body moving before my brain could argue. The room was so dark I could barely make out his features. But his eyes were clear, focused on mine. There was no grin, no smirk. Just Jordan. Vulnerable. Real. You don't have to know, I said quietly. I don't either. He looked at me for a long moment. Then, slowly, he leaned in. His forehead touched mine first. Then the tip of his nose brushed mine. His hand stayed at my waist, grounding me as if to say, we can stop. Say the word. But I didn't. I closed the gap. And he kissed me. Soft at first. Careful. His lips uncertain. Testing. But then his hand slid to the back of my neck, and he pulled me in deeper, like something in him had snapped loose, and he couldn't hold it back anymore. When we finally pulled apart, breathless, I couldn't think of a single thing to say, so I didn't. Neither did he. We just laid there, in the dark, with his arm around me and the faint hum of crickets outside the window. The next morning hit like a slow-motion reality check. I woke up tangled in a blanket that smelled faintly of laundry detergent and heat. And him. Jordan was still beside me, his arms slung over my waist, breath warm against the back of my neck. For a moment, I didn't move. I let myself stay there, soaking in the stillness, The quiet rhythm of our bodies pressed together like that was something we did all the time. But then his alarm buzzed softly on the nightstand. He stirred. I held my breath. He didn't jump away, didn't freak out. He just reached over, silenced it, and stayed exactly where he was. "Morning," he mumbled, voice rough with sleep. "Morning," I said, my throat dry. A beat of silence passed. Then he stretched, his body brushing fully against mine as he pulled away slowly, sitting up with a grunt. Damn. Forgot how uncomfortable that mattress was. I turned over, watching him as he rubbed his eyes and ran a hand through his hair. He looked different in daylight, still gorgeous, sure, but less intense. Softer. "You okay?" I asked. Jordan glanced back at me. "Yeah." "You?" I nodded. "Yeah." Neither of us said it out loud, but the air was different now, charged in a new way. He stood up and stretched again, his t-shirt riding up to reveal the curve of his back, the waistband of his briefs. I looked away quickly. He caught me. "Still single?" he teased, echoing what he said the night before. I rolled my eyes, throwing a pillow at him. "Shut up!" He laughed and dodged it easily. We both showered, separately, and met in the kitchen 20 minutes later like nothing had happened. Like we weren't still feeling the gravity of last night's kiss pulling at both of us. Mason was already up, scrambling eggs in a pan and humming along to some early 2000s pop track. "Morning, lovebirds," he said sarcastically, not even looking up. I froze. Jordan, unbothered, walked over to the fridge. "Morning, asshole." Mason grinned and shrugged. "Just saying. You two passed out on the couch like an old married couple last night." I blinked. "Wait, what? You seriously don't remember?" Mason turned to me. "You got up for water around midnight." Jordan was already asleep on the couch. "You climbed right over him, laid down, and next thing I knew, you both were snoring like synchronized swimmers." I looked at Jordan. He looked at me. We both kept our faces neutral. Jordan shrugged. "Must have been sleepwalking." Mason poured coffee into 3 mugs. "Whatever, just don't make it weird. You're both grown men." We shared breakfast in the awkward, unspoken silence of people pretending nothing had happened. Mason kept talking about some girl he matched with on Bumble. Jordan kept eating like nothing was wrong. I kept glancing at him, wondering if I'd imagined the kiss. When Mason left to meet up with friends around noon, Jordan and I stayed behind. Alone again. The silence returned. He leaned against the counter, sipping coffee. I stood near the sink, arms crossed, not sure how to bring it up. Eventually, he beat me to it. "Last night wasn't a mistake," he said. I looked up. "No?" He shook his head. "I meant it." I exhaled slowly. "Okay, good." Jordan smiled faintly, eyes searching mine. "But I don't know what it means yet. I've never done this before." "Been with a guy?" He nodded. "Or even wanted to. Until now." I stepped closer. "You don't have to figure it all out today." He looked relieved. Yeah. Another long silence. Then he reached for my hand. Slow, tentative, and linked his fingers through mine. I didn't pull away. "Want to go for a drive?" he asked. "Clear our heads?" "Sure." We left the house without saying goodbye to Mason. Just 2 guys heading out into a cold October afternoon, the air crisp with change. Jordan drove, his hand resting lightly on the gear shift. Every now and then, our fingers brushed. He didn't move away, and I didn't either. The drive was quiet at first, comfortable, but charged. Jordan didn't talk much, and neither did I. We rolled the windows down, letting the cool air whip around us, the smell of pine and pavement flooding the car. His playlist shuffled through mellow indie tracks, most of them wordless, as if the silence itself was part of the song. Eventually, he pulled off the highway and down a winding road lined with trees, the kind of road you only knew if you grew up nearby. I recognized it instantly. "Wait, this is where we used to go tubing, right?" He nodded. "Yeah, haven't been out here in years." The car rumbled onto a gravel shoulder. Jordan killed the engine and sat back, one hand on the wheel, the other resting in his lap. For a minute, he just stared through the windshield, watching the trees sway. Then he said, without looking at me, "You remember that summer when you and Mason nearly drowned trying to race each other across the river?" I laughed. "Yeah." Mason swore he saw a snake and practically climbed on top of me mid-swim. He still talks about that, says it was the most cardio he's ever done. We both smiled. It felt easy again, familiar, but now, layered with something unspoken, Jordan finally turned to look at me. "I used to think you were too good for him." I blinked. "What?" He shrugged. "Mason, back in high school, you were always the one people liked. Teachers, girls, even my mom. I remember thinking if I ever came out." He trailed off. "Never mind." I stared at him. "You thought about coming out?" He hesitated. "No, not really. I just thought about you." That hit me harder than I expected. He rubbed the back of his neck, suddenly fidgeting like the confidence from earlier had evaporated. "Look, I know I'm probably screwing this up. I don't know what this is yet. But I like being around you. I like last night, and I don't want to pretend it didn't happen." My chest tightened. "I don't either," I said. "I liked it too." He looked at me then, full on. "You ever think about what would have happened if we'd met without Mason between us?" "Honestly," I said, "I probably would have thought you were straight and kept my distance." Jordan smirked. "So you did think I was hot?" I rolled my eyes. "Don't get cocky." He reached over then, not in a showy way, just a quiet movement, his hand landing on my knee. The warmth of it seeped through my jeans. "Let me take you out," he said softly. I blinked. "Like on a date?" "Yeah. I mean, nothing fancy. Coffee, a movie, whatever you want." "Does Mason know he's setting us up without knowing it?" Jordan laughed, leaning back. "He's gonna lose his damn mind. Think he'll care?" Jordan thought for a moment. "He'll care, but he'll get over it." That made me smile. We didn't kiss again in the car, we just sat there for a while longer, soaking it in, letting it be real. Eventually we drove back, quietly again, but not from nerves. Just two people holding a new secret in the air between them like something fragile and good. When we walked in the door, Mason looked up from his phone. "Where the hell were you two? I thought you died." "Just clearing our heads," Jordan said. "Yeah," I echoed. "Clearing our heads." Mason squinted at us like he didn't buy it but let it go. "Whatever. Dinner's in the oven. Don't eat all the fries this time." Later that night, after everyone had gone to bed, I heard a soft knock on the door. It was Jordan. He didn't say anything, just looked at me with this quiet kind of confidence. I stepped aside, letting him in, and this time, when he got in bed beside me, it didn't feel like an accident. It felt like a beginning. Jordan didn't try to kiss me again that night. He just laid beside me, close but not clingy, his body facing mine in the quiet dark. We talked in whispers like the room was too still for anything louder. He asked me about school, about who I was dating, or not dating. I asked him what it was like being back home and if he missed the military. He shrugged. "Some parts. Structure's nice. But I like being around people I actually care about." "You didn't have that there?" "Not really," he said, then added after a beat, "Not like this." The way he said it made my stomach flip. It wasn't long before his hand found mine under the blanket. No pressure, just fingers resting against mine, like they belonged there. We eventually drifted off like that, and for the first time in a long while, I slept without waking up in the middle of the night, heart pounding from dreams I couldn't remember. When morning came, the sun slicing through the curtain made his face glow in this ridiculous, annoyingly beautiful way. He was still asleep, mouth slightly open, hair sticking up in every direction. I watched him for a minute until he cracked one eye open. "You're staring." "You drool," I said. He wiped his mouth instinctively, then rolled onto his back. Liar. We got out of bed reluctantly, both trying to act normal as we shuffled into the kitchen, where Mason was already halfway through a giant bowl of cereal. He gave us both a look. So are you two a thing now, or am I imagining the tension? I nearly choked on my water. Jordan, cool as ever, reached into the fridge for juice. Dunno, you okay with it if we are? Mason blinked, clearly caught off guard. Wait, you're serious? Jordan looked at me and smiled. Kinda, I shrugged. Yeah, I mean, if that's all right. Mason stared at us for a second, like he was calculating whether to freak out. Then he pointed his spoon at me. If you heard him, I'll put anchovies in your shampoo, I snorted. That's your version of threatening me? Jordan just grinned, and the whole thing felt strangely easy. That afternoon, Jordan and I ran errands together, mostly boring stuff. Groceries, a hardware store trip for something Mason had broken, coffee on the way back. But being with him made the most mundane things feel fun. He reached for my hand casually while we waited in line. We shared earbuds in the car. We made each other laugh at dumb things. It was good, really good. That night, we stayed up watching a movie in his room, the lights low. He had his arm behind my shoulders, and I was resting against him, feeling the steady rhythm of his breathing. You ever think about what this would have been like if we figured it out sooner? He asked quietly. I shrugged. Maybe we needed to be apart to get here. He nodded. Yeah, probably. There was a pause, and then he leaned in and kissed me again. This one was different. Not hesitant, not exploratory. It was grounded, confident, and it didn't stop after a second. I felt his hand slide up under my shirt, not rushing, just exploring like he was memorizing every inch. I reached for him too, fingers brushing his neck, his chest, his side. We didn't go all the way that night, but it was close. Hands, mouths, skin, breath. When we stopped, we were both breathless, flushed, grinning like idiots. He looked down at me, brushing my hair off my forehead. You feel real to me, he said. I swallowed hard. You are real to me. He kissed me again. Slow, warm, the kind that lingers. We fell asleep wrapped around each other, his heartbeat steady against my back. And I knew then that something had shifted. This wasn't just curiosity. This wasn't just a one-time thing. The next few days passed like we were stuck in some warm, hazy version of real life. Jordan and I didn't label anything. We didn't have a talk about what we were. But something had shifted between us, undeniably, quietly, permanently. And I think we both knew it. We acted mostly normal around Mason. We didn't need to flaunt anything, but there were little things. Sitting just a bit closer on the couch. Sharing long looks when the other wasn't watching. His hand on the small of my back as I moved past him in the kitchen. It was all natural, but I could tell Jordan was still figuring it out. Sometimes I'd catch him staring off, deep in thought, chewing the inside of his cheek the way he did when he was unsure about something. One night, a few days later, we were sitting out back, just the two of us, a couple beers between us, the sky full of stars. He leaned back in one of the patio chairs, arms crossed behind his head, looking up like he was trying to read the constellations. I told my mom, he said suddenly. I turned, told her what. He glanced over, and even in the dim light I could see the nerves in his expression. About you. About us. My stomach dropped, just for a second. What did she say? She said she already knew, I blinked. Wait, knew what? That I liked you, he said simply. I laughed once, quietly. What, from when we were teenagers? Jordan nodded. Apparently, it was obvious. To her, I said, not to me. He reached out and took my hand. She said something that stuck with me. She said, it's never the thing itself that's scary, it's what we think it means about us. I squeezed his hand. That's pretty damn wise. She always is, he said. And I think she's right. I'm not scared of this. Not anymore. I felt my chest loosen at those words. The tension I hadn't even realized I'd been carrying melted away. So what does this mean? I asked. For you? He turned toward me fully. It means I want this. You, whatever it looks like. Then he stood, walked over, and pulled me up from my chair. Just like that, we were dancing slowly under the stars. No music, just the sound of night. His arms were warm around my waist. Mine rested on his shoulders. And we swayed like we'd done it 100 times before. You know, I said, if high school me saw this happening, he'd probably faint. Jordan smirked. Same. We kissed again. Longer this time, slower. His lips familiar now, his hands more certain. And later that night, back in bed, we didn't rush anything. We just held each other. I ran my fingers over the lines of his back, the faint scars, the tattoo on his ribs. He whispered stories into the dark, memories from boot camp, stupid things Mason used to say, secrets he'd never told anyone. And I listened, not just because I wanted to, but because I needed to. Because I was falling for someone I never saw coming. Our last morning together felt heavy, not because of anything bad, but because we both knew what was coming. I was heading back to campus. He was figuring out what came next, career moves, family stuff, maybe even a new city. Nothing was final yet, but the unknown loomed quietly over breakfast. Mason had already left for work, leaving the house empty. Just the two of us, like it had started. Jordan leaned against the kitchen counter, eating toast with one hand, scrolling his phone with the other. But his eyes kept flicking up to me. You packed? He asked. I nodded. Mostly. He set the toast down. You nervous? About what? About us. What happens next? I thought about it for a second. Not really. I mean, yeah, kind of, but in a good way. Jordan gave me a look like he wasn't sure whether to believe me. I don't want to screw this up, he said, voice softer now. I've never had whatever this is. I stepped closer and tugged lightly on the hem of his hoodie. This is just two people who like each other figuring it out. It doesn't have to be anything else. He looked down at me for a long beat. Then, okay, we kissed once more before I left. Not like the first time. Not like the rushed middle-of-the-night touches. This was slower, familiar, full. We didn't say goodbye. We just said see you soon, because we both meant it. That week, we texted constantly. Jordan sent me pictures of stupid things Mason did. I sent him voice notes complaining about group projects and bad cafeteria coffee. Every night ended with a, you up? And a quiet phone call, even if we didn't say much. A couple weeks later, he came to visit, and it felt like we hadn't missed a beat. We went to a movie, made out in the back row like dumb teenagers, and he slept in my dorm bed like it was his. We still didn't call it anything. But we didn't have to, because whatever it was, we knew it was real. And sometimes, that's all you need. Not a label, not a plan, just someone who sees you, really sees you, and stays.